Hey there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Hey Little Magpie. So for this layout today I'm using Paige Evans Garden Shoppe. Beautiful soft colours, and they've got this really lovely stamp set, so I'm going to go straight in and use that. Now this is a stamping platform that I've never used before, so bear with me. But actually I found it really useful, particularly because these stamps hadn't been used before, to make sure I got a crisp image. Now I'm using an ink that is waterproof, and I've stamped those flowers multiple times. So having picked out some distress inks in colours that match the paper above, I'm going to start to, with a soft brush, just blend some inks over the flowers that I've printed, and I'm just going to work my way through the colour ranges following the paper. Paige Taylor Evans always seems to like rainbows in her papers, so that's something I was always expecting. So I had an idea for this sort of layout right from the start when I saw this new range coming to the Hey Little Magpie shop. I would recommend you check out everything they've got on offer. They've got all of these distress oxides, and they've got all of this range obviously, so, and lots more besides. So do check out Hey Little Magpie. So I'm now coming in with some orangey peachy, I think that's saltwater taffy, that one at the top, very nice colour. And then I'm moving on to the yellowy orangey ones. So as I say, I'm working my way down. You'll see there's a piece of scrap paper on my left there. I tend to just dab off the brush now and again just to get the most solid colour off so that it doesn't make too heavy a mark on the flowers. Now I've cut these up off camera. Even I did them on a car ride actually, because it did take me a little while, but nice little bit of therapeutic fussy cutting and never did me any harm. So I'm coming in with the paper now, and I want to cut a section off to put at the top of the layout. So I'm just trying to work out how much that I need, and I'm going to trim that off the main 12 by 12. This is just white basil cardstock that I've got there as my base, the one with a bit of a texture to it. So I'm trimming the paper into the colour strips, and just with a pair of scissors, because I'm not too worried about what the edges are going to look like, because I'm going to now come in with my distressing tool and just rough them up a little bit. Just want to add some texture. They've got actually like a wood grain effect to them already, but I'm just making them a little bit more prominent. I'm using this fancy little gadget, but you could certainly use the edge of a pair of scissors, and I know some scrappers use the edge of their fingernail to get a very similar effect, so you certainly don't need a gadget to actually do that. So I'm just going to put them literally back as they were, but separate. So I've now stuck them down just with a bit of double-sided tape down the centre so that I can bend the edges later. So now I've decided that I want to start to lay the flowers out. Now I've got my photo in position as well. It's not stuck down obviously, if you've watched me before. Nothing gets stuck down till right near the end. So I've laid out the flowers and I've kind of got an idea of how I want them to look. So I've decided I want to come back in with the same paper and add a strip at the bottom of the layout. So I'm going to do exactly what I did before, cut it into pieces and then distress the edges. I'm going to talk a little bit about the photograph here. This photo was taken, I think April of this year. These ladies I have known, in fact I was trying to work it out. I thought it maybe was 12 years, but I think it could be nearer 15. It's scary to actually think how long it could be. We met through scrapbooking, met them at a crop, and as they say, the rest is history. The photograph was actually taken at a garden centre, so I thought that was even more appropriate to be put on a layout covered in flowers. So I'm just trying to figure out how I want the bottom line of this to look. I've cut a couple of journaling spots and a little title out of the 6x8 pad, and I'm looking at rearranging some flowers around them as well, just to give me an idea how I want it to look. So I'm just going to start to move things around just so it's pleasing to the eye really. I'm looking for a few embellishments now just to finish this off. So there's this paper with hearts in, it's like a patchwork effect in the 6x8 pad, and I fussy cut a little heart to go on the photograph. Just left it with a little bit of a white border, and then I've come in with the sentiment sheet that's also from the 6x8 pad, and I'm going to cut a couple of phrases out there out of that. They also do this in a 12x12, so it's going to be a really useful part of this range. I think I've picked happy times, and the other one says collect moments, not things. I've also gone to match them with the colours. That's how I was thinking as I was looking through the sentiments. So I've got some sticky pads here, and I'm going to start to attach the flowers over the strips at the top. I want to do these in different layers, so some of them have just got double-sided tape, and I've got 2 depths of foam pads, so it's not that obvious from above, but they are going to be at different depths. Now I did roll them round a tool there, but you could use a paintbrush handle or a pencil just to curve the flower leaves petals up a little bit, and I think that makes another difference as well. It was only thin white card that I actually stamped onto, and it was plain and not textured to get a good print. It didn't need to probably be waterproof dye. I wasn't sure if I was going to add water eventually, so I decided that a waterproof dye was the best way to start, particularly with rubbing inks over the top. I was thinking also earlier of matting the photograph, but actually I quite liked it against the white. I think there's enough going on that it didn't need a colour, and any colour that I did add actually made it maybe pop too much, if that makes sense. I think there's enough going on there. So I'm just having a look how I want things to look around the photograph. I'm just retrimming the heart, so it's still got a little bit of white around it, but it's a little bit better done than I did earlier on. You may notice that I brought in some black foam to go behind the photograph, and I'm going to use it behind the journaling bits as well. That just makes it easier than using lots of foam pads, and I've got some in my stash, and I'm desperate to try and use things up. So I'm now adding some smaller flowers. Now you may notice that they're not actually in the stamp set, but they are the centres of the smallest flower. So I've just stamped the smallest flower and then trimmed it to its smallest size, if that makes sense. So literally just taken the centre straight out. I think by adding the small one, just adds a little bit of variety with the others, because they are all quite big, and I just think it gives a bit more of a cascading feel down the page. So do check out this range and others in the Hey Little Magpie shop. Do give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so before, because there'll be lots of other videos along the way. So I'm just tidying up, just checking on all the bits and pieces. I've done my journaling off camera. Just tells me where we are, and I need to look up the date so that I can finish that off now. So essentially this has come together with a stamp set, some oxide inks, and 1 sheet of the Garden Shoppe Paige Evans paper. So I'm really pleased with how it's looking now. Literally just getting it all stuck down, which we all know takes me a little bit of time just to get things positioned where I would like them. But it's essentially there. I'm really pleased with how the flowers have turned out actually, and how well blending the oxides as they've matched to the paper. I think it just takes a little bit of perseverance, but actually you just need to remember that it's just a little bit of cardstock, and it's not the end of the world if it's not quite how you expected it to turn out. So going with the more is more theme, I've just actually stamped, and I'm just fussy cutting one last flower to add to the layout. It's funny when you finished, I mean, I can't tell you how many flowers are on here, but I just needed to add one more. But anyway, that's just the way it is. So I'm just giving it a once over, deciding whether I want to add anything else. Fingers crossed that's the end of it. Just checking then that everything is actually stuck down, and I'm going to go back in and ruffle up the edges of the papers at the top just to make sure that they all look separated. So thank you so much for watching. Just coming up now is the full image and some close-ups so you can see those flowers in a lot more detail. So hope to see you here again soon. Thanks so much. Bye for now.